Oh, like I said, I'd be recording 2 videos today, and this one's not on the platform. This is something going on inside the local Ada County GOP, and I have some things to say about it. Now, this won't be apparent to the viewer, but I've had to basically tape off the lower half of my screen just so that I remember that there's some of the lower half that can't be seen in the screen capture here. But just in case it isn't abundantly clear, my name is Matthew K. Jensen. I'm a local involved Idahoan, and I have some things to say. So there were a set of 6 rule changes. Hey, I'm going to switch seats here. That one sucks. So there's a slate of 6 rules changes intended to be submitted to the state level of the Idaho Republican Party to change something, and they largely have to do with how dues are paid and whose responsibility and what have you. Now, my dishwasher is complaining about something. I'm not going to take care of it right now, so it's just going to beep. Dues have been a contentious issue in the local Ada GOP, and the way that they've been handled, especially as of late, hasn't been good. And there are a lot of us that have reason to believe that it has not been done in good faith. Now, it says that now this was a thing taken care of. Now, I'll reference what happened with these at that meeting in a little bit. They're not done away yet, and that's why I'm still talking about them. But we were given a document. The following 12 pages had 6 party rule changes, and the accepted rules were intended to be introduced. Now they haven't been introduced yet. The rules are suggested changes relative to the dues going on. There isn't anything inherently wrong about that specifically. As you review, each reasons for the rule and explains for the basis. Now, this is not the way that it is done, and I would think that the authors know that, especially if they intend on going all the way to the State Central Committee with all of this, or at least the Rules Subcommittee. As somebody who's had to do a lot of rules-related stuff at the state level, this is really odd to me. Now, on the local level, this kind of thing is done all the time, but it's usually just a very small block of text, sort of what this is, what this does, and why kind of thing. That's a format that I've used on the local level a lot. But this is weird to me. Now, the 6th Rule 1 be careful when somebody uses the word transparency right out of the bat. Sometimes they're legit and sometimes they're not. Allow credit for campaign. No. Okay, see, I already have a problem with the description here. Allows credit for county campaign and other expenditures towards county dues. Well, no, you're a county party. You're supposed to be taking care of that independent of dues. This is how it's been done for all time. And not only that, but most, if not all, of the dues-paying counties operate under that understanding and have been doing quite well under it. Treats equally financial all county delegates and letters to the state. I think I know what they're getting at, but I think I'm gonna. We'll come back to that one. Rule 4: allow counties to pay quota same portion to state party revenues. What are they getting at there? I'll have to hear what they're saying, because I was expecting to hear about this in committee, and that is interesting, the way that they're wording that. See, Rule 5 allows counties and LDs to get credit for donations made by who give to the state UAP. Oh! Somebody is trying to get credit for things they didn't do. That is interesting. Eliminates dues after 20. Oh, okay, so you're basically trying to defund the state party. Well, at least that's what the summary says. We'll get to that. Okay, so yeah, this isn't how it's done with this whole page worth of explanation. Generally, when you go to the state party with a rule change, it's a serious thing, and not only is it a serious thing, but you are expected to be able to argue when asked about something. You're supposed to be able to give a statement and then answer questions. You can't just come out of the gate arguing against a straw man, because I'm seeing it plainly here. A lot of this is basically already a kind of a straw man arguing against a straw man, and it's just not how it reeks of cluelessness when you do it this way. Like, you don't know what's actually going on, but you're trying to make up for that by talking a lot about it. Okay, so let's see. The statement, approved statement, reasons for rule: a united effort between integral pieces that comprise Idaho's Republican Party, the Idaho's Republican Party, the fourth and the 44 county parties, and Idaho's 35. Well, that's interesting. They're referencing them as distinct parts instead of part of a group. What's the author up to here? Okay, 7 regions will bring unity. From what I'm seeing, this isn't going to bring a whole lot of unity, but we'll give them a little slack there, at least for the time being. The state Republican Party is asking other parties, such as counties, to pay. Is asking? No, that's the rule. The ask has been made. The counties said yes. And you know what? And the source I cite on my last statement just there? The State Central Committee meeting, winter 2023. And I believe the author was there. But, yeah, let's just frame it as something completely different from reality there. Let's just do that. Okay, so the concept of no as... Well, you seem to be correct here, but without building up to that, just referencing that thing out of the the no taxation without representation thing. In my experience, now this might not be what's going on here, but we'll see. In my experience, it is generally meant that somebody is trying to get away with something. I've seen that in the state house. I've seen that in the local Republican parties. I've seen that at the state level. I've seen it at state conventions. So, yeah, and this is wait a minute. Currently, oh, somebody used ChatGPT to write parts of this. I'm pretty freaking sure. Like the way that it's worded with the I think somebody used ChatGPT because it always I've experimented with using ChatGPT, and it often tries to come up with a bunch of statements and then what it actually is getting at for later. And the way that I tried it first was it did a bunch of whereas statements in a rule, and whereas statements belong in a resolution, they don't belong in a rule. And then when you try to tell ChatGPT to not do that, it just says the same stuff but written in a numbered format with colons. I think their author started the first draft not as their own, but from ChatGPT. I think that's what they did. Well, let's keep going here. Currently, counties and limited have no access to what are dues paid for because the item is expensive. Oh, you might have a point if we didn't already know that when we're at state level meetings of that kind, there are Democrat activists and operatives in the room, and when they are in the room, we can't just be spelling out exactly everything. Otherwise, that stuff is going to be used against us. So, yeah, and and the thing is, these Democrat operatives who are pretending to be Republicans, they always use the whole transparency and access to information. So that is interesting. The budget is only approved by the state executive team. I know who wrote that. Hi, Victor. How you doing? Yeah, it's executive team instead of what it's actually called. It would be the State Executive Committee, is what it would be referred to as. The budget is run and not by the Central Committee. Well, there are reasons for that, and that's how the rule is. You can argue against that, and I'm assuming that you will in a bit, but okay. Counties paying quota and dues have been... Oh, so you are acknowledging exactly when that happened, huh? That's interesting. See, where did you say it? Factors in creating... yeah, the asking part of it. The asking. No, it's not an ask. That's how it is. So, and you even knew that because you were there. Okay, counties paying the before and dues, refuse access to historical... Yeah, that's proprietary information. And there are reasons for that, and I think the author knows. There is no tracking system to ensure money spent by... sunshine reporting is a thing. And proportions that... there's actually a lot of reasons why the state party might not spend proportionately. And you might not be privy to that kind of information, say, in Ada County, but there are reasons why you either try harder or try less hard in different parts of the state as a political party. There are reasons for that, and I think the author knows. This is starting to actually a little peeve me a little bit. Okay, so so you're planning to amend Article 19. Does Article 19 have 6 sections in it? Why are they starting with 7? That's odd. Okay. Well, I'm sure that'll come out. Any county part of legislative district. Okay, this is the one that we actually did discuss in Central Committee, and I guess I'll get to what happened. The committee saw fit to amend this part of the TARP part, and then send it back. And then right after that happened, they sent the rest of the slate back, 2 through 6, along with it. And there were reasons for that. You had to mostly have been there, but it was the prevailing opinion at the time. This was last Thursday, I think it was, where it was like, well, this does not look ready, especially since we've just had to amend the first one. And it says, and the Ada County Party or Legislative District Act with pay dues and those shall have representation. Okay, so yeah, we had this big fight about representation, and they couldn't come up with a real good answer to this. And the whole discussion left me feeling like the author did not, well, at least the author who took a bunch of ChatGPT stuff, because this is starting to look like that, the actual rules part of it, they're not aware of how the legislative district and county relationship works in pretty much every other part of the state. And and the thing is, we completely struck A, I think it was, before we sent it back. As to pay shall provide the input on size on, well, yes and no. I mean, the thing is that people don't have the input on that. The rule is what the input is. So we write the rule, so that way there is no one person that is the arbiter of what's happening. We write the rule. We have the rule of law. That's a very Republican thing, to have the rule of law. We don't have the rule of a person, Victor. We have the rule of law. We continue with state party budget must be passed by vote. No. If we do it that way, it's not going to get done, for one. And two, the operatives I've already mentioned. Counties and locals shall receive the schedule of allocation and spending on... oh, yeah. You might as well just give all of our receipts to the Idaho Capital Sun if you're doing that. Counties will be able to access... no. And why is it only counties when you're trying to do that whole equal representation of LDs and LDs and counties? That's odd. Payments by all 44 upon request. Yeah, the LD part of that is just gone. I would have loved to have heard an explanation for that, Victor. Okay, well, let's continue. Let's see the proposed, so that's why I think of that. That shouldn't pass, and if we attempt it, it's going to look really bad on Ada County. And, and not just the leadership of Ada County, no, Ada County Republicans as a whole, if number 1 passes, or gets anywhere. It won't pass. It'll piss people off, it won't pass. Addresses the current... okay, well... assigning credit towards... okay, so that... when you assign credit, when you... at least under the quota system, and I guess dues to an extent, is you're in a situation where you're behind on your quota. And today it would be dues, but the quota. And you're trying to get out from arrears in that situation. And so you make an agreement with the state party. Okay, well, either all or part of this kind of expenditure made in my jurisdiction, in this case, the Ada County, because this is where this kind of thing was primarily done. It's not done a whole lot of other places, at least historically. The credit, it's like, okay, well, you can get this much credit for this kind of political activity being done, and it was really just, and it's not an automatic thing, and nor really should it be. I mean, you should be fundraising and paying, and paying all of the bills, and paying for all the things that you're supposed to be doing. I mean, you're supposed to be doing electioneering types of things. You're supposed to be getting credit for that too. This sounds very childish. United efforts. Wait, this is a repeat of the... why are they trying... is this all... this is mostly... and again, here's another block of text, what I've highlighted right here that looks like it was written by ChatGPT. Okay, and so we're finally getting 5 out of 10... I have less than 50%. 5... you might have a point if you were arguing from, if you're trying to come together on an agreement before you went through, straight through to making a rule. But this is basically trying to bulldoze it through, and good luck. That's not starting from... that's not starting from a position of cooperation. This number 4 right here. You're trying to make it look like you're cooperating and want to pay, but no, but you're really not. Okay, put another kind of Ada County are quite different from Kim. Yes, okay, there are considerations that you must make when fundraising. That is the responsibility. It is the responsibility of the county to know what situation they are fundraising in. So, no. Bonneville banner. Spent money is according to competitiveness prior to local. Well, yes, of course they spent a lot because those were We needed to beat back the opposition in those places. Argument not made there. If that was supposed to argue for, whatever this rule is coming up next, you haven't made your point. Assigning credit towards them. Okay, so another curiously numbered part of proposed Article 19, and Idaho State will extend credit towards up to county parties or legislative districts. Okay, this whole possessive with the apostrophe thing. It looks like it was written by a child, and not when you do that with the whole apostrophe part of that. But not only does that look like you've been taking the homework of a child, but you need to write it a different way in order for that to be proper English, because our rules are written in English. Okay, so there was our for a proportion of federal mandates working with us by working with the state. Should a county party not have its own hard money account for no, just straight up no on this. No. In addition to campaign, the executive committee shall. Oh, what's this executive committee? Okay, you're calling it by the right name now. No, this isn't going to make it through, and it's going to make a lot of people angry when you do it. Well, we'll work closely. Okay, how do you define any of that? The Idaho State Republican Party will work closely with the county and legislature seeking a credit, and will confirm credit due the county. Not only does this look like it's going to be abused, and that's not an if, it's a gonna, but this would effectively give carte blanche authority to basically rip apart the state budget. This is, to random people across the state. No. That's effectively the inverse of the taxation and representation proposition. That's the inverse of what they were just arguing for. This subsection C right here. And then county legislature. Why is this in bold? Okay, well, and we'll create an appeals process should the receiver go around. Okay, so now not only are you doing all this crap, but you're making it more complicated. Should the perceived credit of that grant be outside expectations? Oh, that's an interesting turn of phrase there. The composition of the appeals board will be agreed to, and the consultation of the. No. In fact, I might even do my favorite parliamentary maneuver on that one. I would literally object to the consideration of the question had I actually read that. So, proposed rule. A unified effort. Okay, this is a lot of the same as it creates a deal solely on Idaho GOP counties. There's a reason for that. I think you know what that is. You're misrepresenting the situation by saying number 2 like that. Idaho would require to make up a difference. Okay, so okay. They're fighting against another straw man here. I know what's going on here. That there was a concern raised in the last winter meeting, and it was acknowledged. However, due to our own rules on how to argue and amend everything, fixing the problem would have been out of order, so we didn't do it. But that also means is that the fix for it will be up at the summer session. I happen to know people are absolutely going to fix that part of Article 19. And so they're arguing from a really dishonest position that as if that isn't going to happen. But it is going to happen. So I pay now. And you know what? They would have a point if they were being honest about this. You know, where assessing the assessing the unpaid dues to divide evenly among the the county delegates of a convention. That is a problem because you could basically pay for you could do a pay-to-play factionalized thing going on. You could basically pay for the result of a convention. That is inherently antithetical to Republican values. So, of course, we would be concerned about that. That's why it's going to be changed. That's why I think the author even knows of the coming change. And I think he even knows about what we're going to be doing about that instead. But we'll continue. In any case, counties are being asked to shoulder the sole burden of paying shouldering no. There's a reason for that, and it has to do with how they're organized. And I think you know that. Both counties are send delegates. And okay, are you trying to build a case here? Is that why you mentioned that? It is far more likely that you will support candidates for later. Okay. I'm gonna explain something to the viewer right now, and I had to get up and argue this at the last Ada County Central Committee meeting. There is not a single inch of land in the state of Idaho that is in a legislative district and not in a county, or vice versa, in a county and not in a legislative district, or in a region and not in a county, that kind of thing. So to say that delegates and party support, convention delegates and party support are more likely to support a legislative district candidate, kind of doesn't end around the reason why we have a political party. We have a political party, the Idaho Republican Party, to support and elect Republicans. Now, the reason why, and so the LD delegates, that would go to a convention, often have the very same, if not even more, which I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, but they're going to have the same concerns about and motivation towards candidate support in the legislature. Now, let's add on top of that, the county committee is only supposed to be concerned, at least as assembled in that manner, county issues. Now, the very same precinct committeemen are also a part of a legislative district committee, and these legislators aren't just staying in the legislative district. No, they come to Boise and they are legislators, but a senator and two representatives, and they do things that affect more than just the county that they happen to be residing in. In fact, quite often they are voting on statewide matters. The commissioners and other officers that a county committee is concerned with electing, they don't have that kind of statewide reach. So of course there would be this difference. And I think the author knows that. I've been saying not a lot. And I'm starting to think this is a lot more dishonest rather than clueless. There's that thing I say about Hanlon's razor. Never attribute malice where stupidity would fit. Well, this is both sides. This is both stupid and malicious. And anyway, according to the calculated average was implying that each prong the same side should bear the. I don't think that's actually what it said, but you know what? I'll even grant that. Whatever. Each sends exactly 3 delegates. Well, no. Each legislative district sends and the reason why that's wrong is in exactly what you said here. Each legislative district sends exactly 3 delegates. A county sends 3 plus a very big number, usually proportional to the Republican voters in that county. So counties, by their logic, have a lot more say about what's going on than an LD. Okay, fine. Counties represent a population. Okay, I'm going to trust that number is right. The spirit of the equal protection is not voters, delegates, different. Okay, again, this is assuming that the LD delegates would not have the very same Republican concerns. I mean, until the last convention, the very last one in 2022, in the 2021 and the 2018 and the 2016 one, I was an LD delegate. In fact, I was chairman of the delegation in a couple of those. However, I'm still the same person, I'm still the same Republican, and I still have a lot of the very same Ada County concerns. And I know that all of the voters that I was representing at those points had the very same concerns too. So, you know what, and it's written poor, this whole thing is just written poorly. And that was, a very big part of the reason why we sent it back, because the rule changes were written poorly, and I think they're trying to get around writing all of this as a single. Looking it through now, they're trying to get away with writing with passing through a big block by chopping it up into 6 parts and pretending that they're not all part of the same big plan. I mean, come on. That's dishonest. I don't think I'm being entirely untoward when I say that is being dishonest. Splitting it up 6 ways when really it's just all part of the same thing. Is this the same numbering that we had? It feels like there would be some clerical things to be doing if this all was ever going to go through. Now we know it's not. And we know it's just going to piss off all the rest of the party. Section 8. When the Idaho State Republican Party assesses dues, counties are responsible for 85% of those dues, and legislature will be responsible for 15 of those. Oh! They're trying to do the whole, according to the... Well, it's never going to be exactly 85, and it's never going to exactly be 15 on the reasoning that they're mentioning. And so, having that hard number in there is going to be inherently unrepresentative, either over or under the line. So, that's just badly written. And not only that, but in a lot of the cases, you would basically be double taxing. In fact, that would be all of it. Yeah, where you have the same group of people that is fundraising for a county, and then an LD, and then county takes, a state party takes from both, but it's all coming from the same source. So that's just bad policy, and it's gonna burn out donors. That's what it's gonna do. No. And why is E? Was this part of something else, and then it just got assigned E, subsection E? Portion will not be less than 4. Oh, someone's being rather presumptive here. I would not necessarily be worried about this one, because this one would just fall flat. Not only is it poorly written, but it doesn't exactly have a good supporting argument. And had somebody said the things that are in these bits of text up here, argued it like you're supposed to in committee, I would have voted it straight down, and I'm willing to bet most of the room would too. Like at least 80% of the room would. Like there would be a supermajority. Okay, so the fourth of this supposedly 6-part. Let's see, we have addresses odd even year payment schedule. Okay, so they're complaining about the 2-year cycle, whereas there's every 2 years there is a summer convention of the Idaho Republican Party, and I'd imagine that they're just complaining about the linkage between the paying all of the dues before a certain point before the convention. I bet that's just what they're complaining about. The real that corresponds to the state party budget. They do know that projections are a thing, right? Like if you budget and fundraising projections, they know that's a thing, right? So here's this redundant text again, and if somebody had argued 6 different rule changes and said the exact thing like that, began with the same thing every single time, I would move for the dismissal and probably banishment of whoever was trying this in a committee. That's what I would do if they did, because you're basically tempting fate there. The wish to create stability within the... Yeah, you're not going to have stability in the party when you're polling stuff like this, Victor. Anyway, the entire Idaho GOP... Okay, that's redundant. It's like saying ATM machine. Look at that, look at that. The entire Idaho GOP party wishes to create... let's see, I'm still recording, right? Yeah, I'm still recording. Okay, so, look at this. I mean, let's see if... I don't care. Let's see, donors should generously support the... Well, if you're concerned about donors generously supporting the Republican Party, you would be doing something about the Ada County Lincoln Day Association, Victor. The entire deal which is going to match the account of the finance of the state convention deal. Well, he's pulling in the argument of the really dishonest argument again about the that one section of Article 19 of the state rules. He's pulling that in again. It's dishonest. He knows it's going to be changed, and it has widespread support. And see, here's the thing. And here's another thing. If you know that is coming, why would you write all of this, knowing that there's going to be some change coming, and you'll have to make something around that? Like what these rules are. It would have to. Be dependent on whatever the rule gets changed to when regarding, representation in a convention and fundraising. I mean, you would have to know what's coming in order, and it doesn't sound like there's been a whole lot of collaboration. This literally sounds like some people, like a person, talked to ChatGPT for a while about these things, split it up into some parts, and then just chopped it around with a few very like-minded people, in only one place, i.e. Ada County, and then just pretended like there isn't some sort of very big problem with that. Anyway, local county parties and the need resources in the odd number year for local races. Okay, you're bringing that up for a reason, I would imagine. The current state party budget acknowledges less funds are collected in odd number. Okay. So you're gonna Going to make some hoobaloo about the odd number year here. Okay, let's see the actual... All right. Article... see, Section 10. You're trying to... this is a part... Thing is, you've numbered it Section 10, so you know that's going to be a part of the bigger package. And yet you're pretending like it's not part of the bigger package by the 6 different... I mean, oh man, okay, 30% of the assessments will be paid in odd number of years. And oh, he's trying to delay the payments so that there's okay, for margin you might get away with this if certain information is not brought to the state party. I have a feeling it will. I look forward to the battle on that. Proposed Rule 2023-05. County party and legislative district for statement for rule. Okay, a lot of the repetitive AI constructed English. Let's see, we're not a different the state party and I wish to create stability. You're not creating stability when you push these things, and the entire which granted a maximum candidate support. Okay. Are unique. Then you shouldn't be treating them as the same, Victor. Yeah, they actually went out and said this. Each of the 44 counties and legislative... Well, okay, there aren't 44 counties and legislative districts. There are 44 counties and 35 legislative districts. So this is wrong. Like, it's factually wrong. 44 counties and legislative... that's interesting. Many donors choose to support the state GOP. Well, I know why. I know why he said that was state GOP, local, or all of these. Or all of these, because he knows that there have been, in the past, certain people who were trying to undermine past chairmen at the time by donating straight to the state party and not to the county party at the time. And I bet he's a bit upset that people are doing that now. Let's see. There is a national competition for donor signs between state GOP counters and Canada. Yeah, and you know what would help the competition a lot better between the party, between the state party and the county party? Getting rid of Ada County Lincoln Day Association. This is an argument made in bad faith right there. All donors have to provide mailing addresses to comply. Okay. That is a thing. You're trying to build a case here. Okay. Because all donors have to can be tracked. Oh, you're trying to make for the support, support of taking credit for other people's fundraising. Okay. Let's have a look. Next to last. County party and legislative credit for donors. Okay. You want to see you're being magnanimous and fair by giving a little bit of that credit towards the LDs. Yeah, it's not going to be working like that. I know you know why it's not going to be working like that. And I think I know, and it surprises me that you know that you don't. It surprises me that you don't know that this will go down in flames. And the thing is, I would let that happen, just straight out of the gate. I would let that happen to you. The problem is that the leprosy that is on you when you do that will spread to everyone else in Ada County. We will all be lepers because this came from Ada County. It's going to have Ada County as the name on it. It's not going to have Victor effing Miller on there. It's not going to have Barrett Tetlow. It's not going to have it's not going to have Flappy Hands or the former secretary on it. It's going to have Ada County on it. That's going to be a problem. Do you not see why that would be a problem? This would go down immediately, and for good reason. And I wish that would be all that would happen, but it wouldn't. Sunset clause on dues. Oh, so you're trying to do away with dues and basically most of the funding of the party. Okay. So it ends to the united effort between. Okay, so a lot of this recycled stuff. This is copycat. 40 okay. Oh, well, this one's interesting. Each of the 44 counties are unique. So you say 44 counties in the state of Idaho in this one, but you say 44 counties and legislative districts in the state of Idaho are unique. What happened there? That's interesting. And each county throughout Idaho is very different than others in terms of political landscape. You don't say, and you don't, and why have you not applied such knowledge to why this might fail? See, this is another thing, is that it's very clear that the author or authors have not put in the work. I've put in the work for state rules before. I mean, in fact, I'll tell the brief story. We had a region chairman who was misbehaving and letting things right out to the point where it could have become illegal under state statute and the rules of the time for a region to actually conduct its business in a reorg meeting. Because nobody had thought of the chairman just disappearing. Nobody had thought of that before because, the chairman, a region chairman is supposed to be somebody that's around and responsive and whatnot. Well, we know that the chair before this rule was in place was screwing with us because she knew she was about to be voted out. So we ended up getting things together to forcing the issue, and we ended up being in compliance with both the state rules and the law, but we were a handful of hours away from not being in compliance with the law. So I wrote the rule to say, if that happens again, the chairman's seat is vacant, and the state chairman can then step in to do things in a couple of different situations. There's one where we know what the situation is, and then one where we don't quite know what the situation is, and we still need to be able to get together to reorganize the party in the region. So I wrote that, and I had to consult a lot of people. And in fact, the scars of the consulting to a lot of people, there's one particular phrase in there. It's a thing that doesn't actually exist, but somebody argued with me for over 2 hours that it did. And so I left the phrase region bylaws in there. In fact, you can go to Article 3, Section 6 of the Idaho Republican Party rules. That's not a thing that actually exists. And not only that, but there was a lot of battling in that actual committee, rules subcommittee meeting that night, because there was a related issue of moving the responsibilities of what a region committee was supposed to be. But I battled through that. I talked to people, and not necessarily made deals that time, but there was a lot of collaboration, a lot of discussion, a lot of working for this. And so that was the first time something I'd written had gotten to the state level. Now, a lot of my political involvement, there have been some things that it would have been better and more representative of a Republican Party if people knew what the rules were. And a lot of bad things would have been headed off, if people just simply knew what the rules were. So I talked with a lot of people. I did kind of blindside the state level on this, but a lot of local committees already knew what was happening, where we said, okay, state party, on the state website you must create and maintain a list of bylaws for all the legislative district and county parties. Now that is a very simple thing, and it is a good thing, and it is a good thing that we have that now. It's saved us from a lot of trouble in years since, but it took a lot just to write that the way that it is, write it perfectly this time, and get it up to and past the majority that all rules need to pass. And years later, and I'm not going to go into the situation of what problem this was solving, because but there's a bunch of different redundant, confusing, and because of that, also some overlapping and pothole parts of the affiliation language of the state rules. You know, you have to be affiliated as a Republican, etc. And so, during a year in which I had drastically less free time while taking care of my dying grandmother, I still put in the work to talk to people around the state, to get to collaborate, exchange ideas, do the work of putting that rule through. And there was actually quite a lot of debate on it when it actually get to the floor, because I ended up putting in something that, some people weren't too happy with. And what they were afraid of happening with that rule is something that I didn't think was actually going to happen with that rule. But you know what? There was a whole big debate about it, and Article 18 passed. It passed, and it is now a part of the rules. Now, this is, rules, when you want to get a rule passed, it's very similar to how you pass a resolution. And I've written countless resolutions of the Idaho Republican Party that ended up being the prevailing opinion. And these are of ranging subjects, and those are work. So, if you'll excuse me for the side rant from what's going on right here, but it's very clear by number 5 here that work has not been done. It is not only is it not ready, but the work has not been done to do this properly. And I feel like that's probably not necessarily Victor Miller's fault. It's probably Barrett Tetlow's fault. Or maybe Mr. Flappy Hands. In fact, I've said Mr. Flappy Hands' name a bit too much to the point where I've forgotten his... Travis Clyde, that's his name. That's I used to call him Meathead, but anyway. That was in private conversation. But so back to the county, and so 2 counties have between the. Okay, I suppose that they're making building some kind of case with that foundational stuff, which I don't necessarily disagree with that. County Republican parties, blah 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 blah, do not pay any dues. Okay, they have a different structure for how they do things in their own party. You know what? Good for them. Good for them. That is how they want to do things over there. Point not made. Yeah. You know what? You know what would happen? In fact, the thing is, I've had to look in the state rules with a few of these for affiliation purposes, actually. I've had to look up the state rules for a few of these. And Texas especially is concerning, but also, I want to say it was either Arkansas or Alabama was one of the other one where basically, if the state of Idaho was using the Texas rules, about 3 years ago, every conservative would have been booted out. Just straight out of the party. Because that's what those rules can do under Texas law and the Texas rules. Probably the same in Arizona, but I imagine that they're having a bit of Carrie Lake trouble right now. And here's some other ones where we should just simply dismiss outright because these are not productive state parties: California, Colorado, Oregon, New York. Why are we bringing those names up? Those are, and I hate to use to insult them this badly because I don't know them, but why are we holding those state parties up as a model? Why? They're abject failures in their state, and I bet they even know that, and probably wouldn't tell you to do the things the way that they are doing them. They would tell you that. I bet they would, especially the California one. Self-sufficiency is a Republican value. There's a very easy pot shot I can take at the authors for this. You might have a good idea as to what it is. I'll just say that I did, and I'll just not do it and say that I did. Oh, somebody's quoting the platform now. Mandate programs for funding for its implementation. Well, if the party worked like the state government, maybe. And the thing is that the state government is not in the business of electing people. They absolutely should not be in the business of electing people. A party is in the business of electing people. A party is not in the business of administering a state government. So you might think that you're making a point here with this last thing. You're not. So let's read this last part. It says, man, we're not doing dues after 2024. No, that's going down, and I believe the author even knows that. He's just doing it to piss people off, which, good luck with that. You've chosen a path. There is nothing else going on, so I'm going to take off this cover I've had on the bottom part of the screen this whole time. And let's see, I'm going to switch to just this now. So, my final thoughts is that basically what I've already been saying a few times now, where these rule changes should not pass the county level. And if they do, it's going to be a problem. Because the leprosy is, I believe, the word that I used. The leprosy won't just simply be on Victor, the Ada County chairman. It will be on everybody who he is posseing with at the meeting. It will be everyone who is perceived to have been from Ada. Because the funny thing with district numbers is that sometimes people get them wrong, and so they might think that District 13 is, or one of the lower number ones like District 10 or 11 is in Ada, but it's not. It's in, I think those are in Canyon. See, and not only that, but and the thing is, when people don't know their district numbers, but then in conversation, it's like, oh yeah, District 17 is this chunk of Boise in Ada County. Is what is the phrase that I usually say when describing where my LD is. That's going to be a problem for me, and knowing that I'm from Ada, and Ada County just tried this. The leprosy isn't going to stay on Victor. It's going to spread. And what makes this worse is I avoided talking about this specifically until the end now. There's a lot of history that Victor is ignoring at his own peril here. Specifically, where the phrase "the great state of Ada," where that phrase comes from. And a very big part of that history was the 2014 state convention, in which I guess you could say some similar things were happening with delegate selection. And it got so bad to the point where the Credentials Committee at that convention found cause to complain. At least a lot of people on that committee found cause to complain about it, and there were a lot of bad things done with that convention, with that delegate slate, including an entire family of known Democrats was on there, a bunch of people who were known to not be able to go to the convention. You know that's a very big no-no when you're going somewhere other than your home county. And and we know, because this was admitted to later, we know that this was done to keep out opposing factions out of the convention. This was done for that reason. They admitted it. And so, with all the trouble that would cause, especially with what came out of the Credentials Committee, that convention ground to a screeching halt. It's supposed to be like a 3-day thing. And I think like an hour or two, just maybe an hour or two into the general session, they adjourned because of all the crap that was caused, mostly by Ada County. And Ada County had already had a reputation of trying to control the state party unjustly and referring to it as, and then that phrase got a lot wilder. And you know what? A lot of the people that were responsible for that should have been kicked out. And there were a lot of people, very rightly so, very, very angry about that. And so these things that are happening now, on top of the history that has already happened with the great state of Ada, it's going to cause a lot more harm than good. And I feel that ultimately, if we go down this path, it's going to result in Democrats being elected. And I could elaborate on exactly what steps I have for that, but it is going to eventually result in Democrats being elected. The Republican Party is going to lose power for good in Ada County should this stuff go through. Now, I've been recording for about an hour and 2 minutes now, so I'm going to stop, and I wish everyone well. Y'all have a good day.